welcome to this episode of John's Motorcycle Rescue and Review. Alright guys, it is once again the first Sunday of the month, and that means the Ephrata Breakfast Ride in Ephrata, Pennsylvania. It is June 2nd of 2024, and I'm about to hop on my 1981 GS 1100E and go check out what's at the show. There's always a ton of great bikes there and tons of great people. They have a breakfast buffet there if you're so inclined. But for me, the real highlight of the show is the classic bikes. Today I'm going to go check out and see what the classic bike highlights are. If you're like me and you like classic bikes from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, please feel free to like and subscribe. I feature lots of great classic bike content on this channel. I'll bring the camera along. Let's go see what's at the show. Let's ride. This is a beautiful 1974 Z1 at the Ephrata Breakfast Ride in June of 2024. Awesome time here, awesome bikes, awesome people. It was a nice ride over to the show, and I got there around 10 a.m. and the parking lot was full, and this includes the upper parking lot, the lower parking lot, and the connecting parking lot in between. As soon as I got off my bike, I noticed a couple of classic BMW motorcycles. These were both the R100S models. These bikes belong to brothers. The silver one in particular is a custom paint scheme, and I thought it was just a very tastefully done bike. I thought it was a really cool looking machine. Both of these bikes were also sitting next to an R100RS. Both the silver bike and the red bike had a lot of really tasteful touches to them, a lot of custom touches. And the owners kindly took time to talk to me about the bikes, so that was really cool. Later on, I noticed this beautiful R90S. The prices on the R90S in particular has skyrocketed. And like the original Z1s, it's now beyond the reach of many people who are interested in the classic bikes. But it is a beautiful bike, and I've always liked the styling on the R90S and the R100S. Surprisingly, at the show, the R90S and the R100S were by far the most popular classic bikes there. Moving on to the British bikes, there was a beautiful Norton 850 Commando at the show. I really like the color scheme on this bike, and at some point I hope to throw a leg over one and even possibly do a review. But these are just a beautiful machine. Moving along, I saw this Triumph. I'm not sure what model it is. I would assume it's a Bonneville, but I could be wrong there. I really like the color scheme with the white paint and the orange pinstripe. I thought this was very classy looking, and even the two-tone seat looks really cool on it. This one presented very nicely. It had the polished cases, the chrome wasn't blued, and even the drum brakes were polished. It was just very tastefully done, and it looked very, very classy at the show. A nice segue from the British bikes to the Japanese bikes is this Kawasaki W650. This one's from the early 2000s, and you can clearly see the British inspiration when you look at this bike. It looks very similar to the previous Triumph. But these are another really cool classic bike, and I would love to review one of these in a future video. Keeping with the Kawasaki's, there was a beautiful 1974 Z1 in original condition. These are actually original pipes on the bike and original paint. To me, these bikes are just classically beautiful. They kind of have a reputation for being the king of the superbikes, the original superbike. And in a second, we'll listen to this one start up, but it's really funny to me how quiet they are with the stock pipes. Next up, there was a little KZ550 Kawasaki there. This one looked to be in pretty decent shape, and it only had 14,000 miles. It was for sale at the show, and when I inquired about it, it had already been sold. Next up, I know this isn't a classic Kawasaki, but man, is this H2 just absolutely beautiful. The finish quality on these is world class. I love the look of the pipe on this. I just thought it was such a cool machine. And yes, I really, really want to ride one of these. Moving into the classic Hondas, here's a beautiful 1983 CB 1100F. I had one in this color scheme previously, although it wasn't quite as nice as this one. This one has the Olin shocks in back and the Kirker header and some other tasteful mods. And I think this is just a gorgeous machine. I would love to get to review one of these at some point. There was what looked to be a completely original Honda Ascot VT 500. And this just looked to be in incredibly nice condition for the age. This is an early 80s bike. It has a liquid-cooled V-twin and shaft drive. And this is another one that I would love to ride and review at some point. Next up is a VFR 750 in the pearl white. When I first started riding, my friend had one of these, and I thought it was so cool. And I always thought this generation looked really good in the red and really good in the all-white, like this bike. Gotta love that single-sided swing arm on the VFR. No bike show would be complete without a CB 750 Honda. This one looked to be fairly original and complete, although I think the paint was a custom paint job. And rounding things out for the Hondas, I also really like the gold wheels on this VFR. Those were custom done, and I think they're a nice touch. Moving on to the Suzukis, this was a really cool little GS 750. This was the first big Japanese bike that actually handled well. I've ridden one of these previously and I really liked it, and I wouldn't mind having one in the garage. This is one of the first generation GSXR 1100s from Suzuki, and Suzuki's GSXR line of motorcycles really defined what a sport bike should be. These bikes were a no compromise, bare bones, lightweight racing machine. And these things are very raw when you ride them. They're very vibey, but it's hard to overstate the impact that these bikes have on modern motorcycles. Moving on to the Yamahas, there was a 1998 VMAX there. These bikes debuted in the early 80s, and they really put all the other muscle cruisers on the trailer. This bike is all about that engine. That V4 is punchy, it's torquey, and it makes all sorts of power from idle to redline. You can see the control layout here, and one of the things I didn't like on the VMAX was they put the tachometer almost in your lap, and it spins up very quickly above 6,000 RPM when the V-boost kicks in, and this bike really should have a shift light up there on top of the speedometer. This is a beautiful little Yamaha. It's an RD400 Daytona Special, and this thing looks to be in better than new condition. Very, very nice. Moving on to the Italian bikes, there was only one classic Italian bike that I saw at the show, and that was this beautiful 900 Super Sport Ducati. I've always thought these were just a great looking machine. I love the look of the trellis frame and the brace swing arm. This one has the Terminioni exhaust on it, and from front to back, this is just a piece of artwork. Very, very nice. As the show wound down, I got to spend some time with some friends on their matching Honda Blackbirds. These bikes were the fastest bikes in the world when they were introduced. And these are still incredibly fun to ride, awesome performing machines, and just a blast to ride. All right, man, what a lot of fun. As always, it was a great ride over to the show, and a great time at the show, and a great ride back. Pennsylvania has such beautiful roads, and it's just such a nice area to ride in. I encourage you, if you are in the Lancaster, Ephrata, PA area, and you haven't checked out the Ephrata Breakfast Ride, do yourself a favor and get out and check out the first Sunday breakfast ride that runs from April through September. And if you like bikes of any type, you'll be happy you went to the show. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, enjoy the ride.